Yo, this is Jonathan Bender, former Indiana Pacer and New York Knick, and I'm current joint pain coach. We're here. Check me out on Scoop B Radio.
Scoop B Radio in your area code, on the plane, on the train, but most importantly, on the court. I'm your host, Brandon Scoop B Robinson. Make sure to check me out on all streaming platforms. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Scoop B. And make sure you check out this guy, the 5th overall pick in the 1999 NBA draft, none other than my main man, Jonathan Bender. Brother, what's going on?
What's going on with you, man? It's all good. It's all good. I'm hanging.
I know it. Yo, what's that art in the background? I like it.
Yeah, it's some other stuff, man. You know, I'm a creative guy, so I do a little art here and there. I had some stuff in my head, I had to get down on paper, so on the canvas.
Okay, so you did
Yeah,
that
man.
yourself.
Yeah. I do a little something, man. I got some pieces spread out throughout the house
Okay.
and storage and stuff like that. So,
Okay, so you're a man of art. You're a man of the people. You're also promoting pre-workout stuff, correct?
yeah, well, more of joint protection. You know what happened with me with my knees, bone on bone situation, not growing any more cartilage, and still bone on bone. So I had to go through a long stretch of learning, and I was able to take some of that information and help others. So that's what I'm currently doing.
I like it. Where can people find more information about that while I have you?
But you can go to Solo Prehab. That's our site. SOLOPREHAB. You have knee problems or whatever, you can schedule a consult there. That's where we do most of our business.
Okay. Well, we paid the bills. I want to make sure we get that at the beginning of the interview because when you sit down with me, we talk about a lot and they pick apart in the blog. So I want to make sure that's at the front of the interview. Make sure you check out Solo Prehab. Jonathan Bender, you to me were ahead of the curve. You played in the era, some would say. Your height, your skill set, your youth. You played on the Pacers with the likes of Reggie Miller, Al Harrington, Jermaine O'Neal,
Dale Davis. I think Dale was there at the time. Jalen Rose at one point. Who else did we have on that team? Brad Miller at one point. Ron Mercer. That's my boy. Ron Artest. We had a lot of guys on that team. Steve Jackson.
Okay, so
a lot of cats.
But before I start getting into the personnel, because that's a lot of personalities, where were you sitting when Shaq swung at Brad Miller?
I remember the play. I can't remember exactly, but I remember the incident.
Okay. Why would anybody want to swing at Brad Miller? Was he the quietest guy in the locker room?
He was slow, chill, highly skilled, slow guy. I don't know, man. It happens. Cats on the court really don't want to fight anyway. So, it's a lot of money to put up and lose. I don't know. Getting swung on by Shaq is a big. that's a hell of a move, man. You got to get out of the way of that, man.
You do.
But thank God he didn't get hit with anything.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
You listen, you were on that Pacers team. You had so many guys that could play multiple positions. I look at that era of NBA basketball. You're talking about last dance post Jordan, because I believe that was you got drafted right after Jordan retired, right out of the lockout season, correct?
Yeah, I did get to play against him one time, though, when he was with the Wizards. Okay. But yeah, I came in like right after all the action, the Jordan action, right? I came in that, when Tracy McGrady was doing his thing, Vince Carter was doing his thing around that time. And of course, Reggie Miller was doing his thing, for sure.
How did anybody get any minutes on that Pacers roster when you have guys like yourself trying to buy time with guys like Reggie Miller and Jalen Rose and the Davis brothers. Like, did you really learn a lot from those vets while you were on that team?
Yeah, look, I learned a lot from Reggie out the gate. You know, he kind of, when I got there, that first summer, I went out to Malibu and kind of worked with him, you know, and, you know, just saw him practice, saw how he approached the game. And then in practice, I had to chase the dude every day, right? So learning those stop and goes, coming off those screens tight, and the way he kind of used his off-ball skills and movement to get himself open. I think that's a lot of guys model that nowadays. You look how Steph Curry moves. You look how Rip Hamilton used to move. They all kind of model that off of the off-ball movement of Reggie, but it was hectic, man, chasing that dude every day. But from watching him, and mostly him, but some of the older guys too that was there when I first got in, like you know, how Dale Davis, big guys approached the game, how even Jaylen approached the game. Yeah, it was a blessing because I was there with the older guys, and then I was there when a bunch of the other guys came in too. So it was nice, man. It was nice master class of basketball.
No, that's fair. Do you feel like Klay Thompson in Dallas at this point mirrors where Reggie Miller was when you joined the Pacers?
You know, that's an interesting take. That would be pretty similar, I would say. Klay's a hell of a shooter. I hate, man. My favorite team was Golden State. You know, I never thought that Klay and Steph would break up like that, or Klay would leave, or either one would leave. But him going over there and you saying that, they do have similar games as far as, you know, the ability to shoot the ball and come off screens. And Klay doesn't need a quarter of a second, right? A millisecond is gone, right? And the way they both put the ball on the floor, because Reggie didn't really put the ball on the floor that much, and Klay doesn't either, right? But three ball is off the chain. I think that, yeah, I think that should be, yeah, that's a good take, man. That's actually a similar situation, I would say.
And it's interesting because as I'm hearing you talk about Reggie, and we're going to delve into Reggie a lot because I'm fascinated just with his approach to the game and his technique and his some would say unorthodox shot form. You saw him on one team. You know, guys like Tim Duncan, guys like Kobe, stayed with one team. But then you turn around and you look at Ray Allen. You knew the complete play that Ray Allen was in Milwaukee, but then he was a shooter for hire in Boston. He was a shooter for hire in Miami. Del Curry, to me, was the precursor to that shooter for hire in the NBA. My follow-up question to that is, would it be fair to say that there are glimpses of Ray Allen and Miami and Boston in Klay Thompson's future with the Dallas Mavericks alongside Luka and Kyrie?
You mentioned Ray Allen. I thought about Milwaukee. It was crazy. He was a lot rawer there. It was like his handle was a lot better in Milwaukee. He was more creative in Milwaukee. His shooting ability is crazy. Him and Reggie are like right there. I would say, actually, I would put Klay more closer to Ray Allen as far as his release, as far as, you know, his quick release, and as far as coming off screens. And Ray didn't really put the ball down that much either. I would put him closer to Ray Allen than Reggie, only because with Reggie, I think Reggie moved more. If you go back and look at film, Reggie moved more than Ray. He moved more than Klay. I think the movement that Klay was doing out there in Golden State, all of that was positioning around certain down screens, and he knew what they were doing based on where Steph was going and all of that. Right. It was literally Reggie out there by himself, and put him underneath the goal. Which way you gonna go? Get open, right? You got to screen to left, screen to right. You're gonna come off curl, or you're gonna come off fade. What are you gonna do, right? And he was always animated with the way he got himself open. So I would put Reggie sort of over here, and I would say that to answer your question, yeah, I would look at Klay in more of the sense of Ray Allen.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting.
That makes sense. If that makes sense.
No, it does.
If that makes sense.
I would say, even though I didn't play and you did, I think we've watched enough tape that we live in a world where there are so many comparisons being made. But I also think role matters in basketball.
And yeah, and the reason I was pausing on that question with Klay is because I've never seen somebody get a shot off that fast ever. Nobody's done it. I haven't seen anybody. You're gonna have to prove it to me. Show me somebody that can catch the ball at chin level and let it go without having a safety pocket or that pocket right here. Most guys come down, or you catch here in the pocket and come up here. He's catching right here and it's gone, right? And it's wet every time, consistently. Literally, his base, his feet, he's always in a position to, like, who was that? Charles Barkley said, pull.
Yeah.
Pull. You know what I mean? So, it's not really that he's fast with getting off screens. It's just that he's always set. So once the ball comes to him, it's no wasted motion. He doesn't have a move with his body or something. It's there. It's just ha.
It's like,
and we haven't seen that.
Call of Duty in one, but on the basketball court.
I don't play too much Call of Duty, but I've seen it. I understand what you're saying.
You speaking the English, you still know what I'm talking about, though. So I appreciate that. We're still here.
Yeah, I got you.
Yes, sir. Scoopy Radio, joined by Jonathan Bender, who's talking all things hoops from his era to now. You had an injury that was just, or rather, your bone structure prevented you from playing. It was painful. Is the way that I remember reading it as a kid. What did
you say as a kid?
Yeah, I
feel old.
Old is how you feel. I don't feel 39. I feel 18. You came in the league at 18. This was at a point where you saw a lot of guys coming straight out of high school. Do you think that you guys, first of all, got a bad rap for coming out of high school?
No. Why? Why would you? I mean, every other sport does. Tennis, you can play, 15, 16? Am I right? Mm-hmm. Baseball, get drafted out of high school, right? Soccer, those kids are, all of those kids overseas, man, like 14, 15. So what's the problem? The only sport where it doesn't make sense is football, because you have to be physically mature, which, you wouldn't want to push a high school guy. I don't care how big he is. You want to push him straight to the league in high school. Those real grown men playing physical, like, hurt you. Their job is hurt. But in basketball, why not? And then there's great examples. I mean, if you look at me, okay, some may say, okay, you didn't get a chance to display your full potential. Okay, cool. I show glimpses, fine. But if you look at the majority of high school guys, it's a bunch of them that actually are, quote unquote, the faces of the league at one point. From Kevin Garnett to Kobe to Tracy McGrady, Jermaine O'Neal, a bunch of guys who came in and showed their ass, man. When it came down to it, but we represented well.
I think LeBron was the exception to the rule, though, because LeBron.
LeBron. I'm sorry, LeBron. Yeah.
But even with that, right? LeBron was the exception to the rule because he came out shining and was expected to shine, with a lot of people being skeptical from the door. I feel like you, Kobe, Jermaine, it wasn't, you saw glimpses of it, but I feel like it wasn't right away. But I don't think the pressure was the same.
Yeah, but also you gotta back up a little bit and look at what happened before. With you look at LeBron, he was already training with these guys at an early age, in his earlier years of high school, when they were saying, "Hey, this dude can come out as a junior," they were saying that, right? He was actually running ball with Jordan and all those guys. So you out there, if you're a baller, back in high school and stuff, or even middle school, we were out there playing with the big guys, the big grown-ups on the court. The college guys coming back home to play. So you got used to playing with those guys. For him, he was playing with those guys at an early age, and then you come into high school, it was like child's play. And then they start putting the high school games on ESPN. So you feeling the pressure of it. But that's more pressure than a normal NBA game. So, it's like he was already sort of there as far as the atmosphere. So when he got here, he just had to calm his nerves and play it, he's already blessed with that talent.
Do you think that players should be allowed to jump from high school to the NBA again?
Yeah, it's a problem.
Well,
what is the problem?
My opinion?
Give me your opinion.
So you made a statement when you said to me that in every other sport, tennis, baseball, hockey, soccer, guys are anywhere from 16 to 18 making that jump. To me, in the NBA, when you have larger than life black males that make a lot of money, I feel people got nervous because they didn't have research on their backgrounds, where they came from, who was in their ear. And I think this was when you played. In today's world, that those same rules didn't apply. I feel like your era, you guys were the case study. Now you're knowing about these guys at 16, 17, 18 years old. However, I still point back to the point where I feel like when there are African-American males who make a lot of money and people have questions about maturity, people have a problem with that. And that's the difference.
Okay. Well, if I'm 19 years old, I can go to war, right? You got a problem. How about that? I can go risk my life. So what's the problem?
I think from an organizational perspective, you don't want. Some people may feel like you're not trying. You don't want to mess up the church's money, so to speak. That's what I think. And playing in an NBA versus going to war, some may look at that as that's two different things because you're a multi-million-dollar athlete versus somebody who's going to war. It's a different.
Well, I mean, at this time, it really don't matter because you going to the college is like going to the mini NBA anyway. If you know what I mean, so they're paying. I can imagine being in college and driving around in a Range Rover or a Lambo and Bentleys. What these guys are doing today, man, it's crazy, right? So, I mean, the thing is, the money's there. I mean, the money's in college. The money's you see how much the NCAA was holding out. And obviously the money's doing nothing but growing in the NBA. And, the only thing I don't like about it, and it's a whole nother subject, is that our young youth, that's the only thing they look at. And, you get a guy that signs for 2 years, $100 million. Now that's the only thing the young black kid can go at, that or rap, right? And I don't like that part of it. And it looks like they throw that out there. They love to put out how much the guy is making and put his contract out all over on every platform. So our young youth can just see that and say, okay, that's the only way I'm going. Right?
It makes them a target.
Yeah, exactly.
In today's climate, that's not good.
No, not at all. Not at all. Basically going after a lottery ticket.
Mm-hmm. What would your life and your game been like had you not suffered some of the injuries that you suffered early on?
Oh, man, it's fast, quick, could jump, pretty good, could shoot the ball very well, in my perspective. And I think I would have settled down and learned the game a whole lot better. And I just always look back and said, okay, if I'd have got to the point where the game slowed down to me, that's sort of mastery. When you're playing or when you're doing anything, it's almost like You played Mario before, right?
Did I?
I'm gonna tell you. Okay, you remember when you played Mario so much where you got to the point where you could close your eyes pretty much and run through the boards,
Yeah.
like you just know everything.
Oh, yeah.
That's almost how it is in a particular whatever you're doing when everything slows down. You just know exactly what you're doing,
Mhm.
right? I see a lot of guys get to that point. I kind of wish I could have got to that point. And if I'd have got there with my athleticism and height and length, um, pause, that would have been nice to see.
In today's NBA, who reminds you of you?
Probably KD, the way, obviously the way he shoots the ball and his height. Thinks he's a lot taller than he says he is. He's probably about 7 foot.
Right.
Um, yeah, his ability to put the ball on the floor and pull up, shoot, block shots. Yeah, I would say him.
What? Because I want to go back to that Pacers locker room. I was enamored with just the balance of um, elder statesmen
Mm-hmm.
at that point. To me, I felt like there was some parity between like your team and like the Blazers or like the Clippers with Elton and Quentin Richardson and Lamar Odom, and then the Blazers. You had any iteration of Rasheed Wallace and Damon Stoudemire and Arvydas Sabonis and Bonzi Wells, and then I look at you guys like you had the balance of Reggie, yourself, Al Harrington. Like, what older guys felt comfortable around the young guys on that Pacers team?
None of them. It's too widespread. Like, you 30, 31, you're not hanging with 18, 19-year olds, you know. Um, it was different. I mean, we'll be in the same club together every now and again, but I mean, that's a widespread in age. And don't forget that Rick Smits was on the team when I got there.
Mhm.
Chris Mullen, those guys, Mark Jackson. Don't forget those names as well. So, I mean, to answer your question, it was good that Al was on the team because I had another high school guy when I first came in. And then obviously Jermaine came. And then it was us three high school guys, that kind of clicked up from there.
What was Jermaine O'Neal like in practice? He had an all-star, had a Hall of Fame career from my perspective.
Yeah. He was cool, man, hard worker, big guy. At that point, he had already been through the ups and downs at the Blazers. So when he got to the Pacers, he knew what he wanted, and he knew how to go get it. He knew how to get to his spot and score. He knew how to affect the game. So he was definitely a grown man in Indy for sure.
What version of Ron Artest did you get when he came to the Pacers?
I've seen all versions of Ron, right? People depict Ron in a certain way. They don't know him. They just see the headlines. So obviously, I think Ron at some point was on, he had something going on. But every time I talked to Ron, it was cool. He's a cool dude, man. I talked to him a couple years back, um, just over the phone, or we were somewhere, I can't remember. But always cool, man. Always cool. Now his approach to the game was different, right? He come to practice sometimes he's going all out, or he go to shoot around sometimes he's going all out, But for the most part, outside of the court, he's cool, man. He's a cool cat.
Definitely a cool cat. Somebody that I can bounce ideas off of, and has always been a wealth of knowledge to me.
Yeah.
When the media often gets a hold of things, and then when
Oh man, they take it and blow it up. They take it and blow it up.
say I agree with that. I would say I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
You made mention of playing against Michael Jordan when he was a member of the Wizards, and I'm curious. I've posed this question to a few people, and I'm interested in your perspective. Are there any parts of Michael's elder statesmanship, if you will, back then, that remind you of LeBron now at the age of 39, almost 40?
Nope, and I didn't get to see him that much, so I wouldn't be able to compare from that perspective,
Okay. Is
if that
there,
makes sense.
no, it does. But is there anybody in today's NBA that reminds you of Michael at that point in Washington?
Now you got to break it down, Michael. You mean as far as his game and the way he was playing in Washington? I mean, who's the oldest guy in the NBA right now?
LeBron James.
LeBron?
Yeah.
And no, he couldn't do the things LeBron is doing right now at that age, but he could still affect the game. He could still get to his spots. He could still put up 30, right? He still had a winning attitude, you know. So if that answers your question.
It does. You remember the Pacers when they went to the finals in 2000, correct?
Yeah, yep.
What was that experience like for you against the Lakers?
Crazy, crazy. I remember them putting me in the game, and Shaq was guarding me, and they was putting me in there to shoot some threes, bring him out from underneath the goal. And I'm just like, man, it was like lights, lights so bright, bro. I couldn't believe I was on the court in the NBA Finals game, right? It was just everything times 100 from a normal, playoff game. High intensity. I remember Kobe, and I remember him doing his thing. I remember the whole thing. It was a crazy experience. I'll always remember. NBA Finals is something separate, definitely from everything else.
Yeah, and Isaiah Thomas, if I'm not mistaken, was the head coach at that point when you guys went to the finals.
Yeah, yeah. Zeke was the coach.
What was your relationship with Isaiah at that point? Because I feel like, go ahead.
It was all right. It wasn't. I wouldn't say that it was super great to where it was just a coach at the time. We didn't have that type of relationship. But he was cool. Did he show me a lot? Yes. Does he have a winning mentality? For sure, right? But he was a cool cat. He was a cool dude.
Jalen Rose to me is one of those chameleons. You see him in the Locks videos one day, you see him on Mad Sports on Fox the next day, you see him on the court as your teammate, and then you might see him grab a sip of wine with someone that's in Hollywood. He is a curator of culture for sure. What was your relationship like with Jaylen? How important was he on that team as a playmaker?
I think he was a heck of a playmaker. He was number 2 behind Reggie at that time. Could score in bunches. Could defend when he wanted to, right? And was an overall monster. I remember him and Reggie both having over 40 for the first duo to ever do it. I think during the playoff stretch and whatnot. But Jaylen, like you said, you depicted him perfectly. Hip hop head, always up on the latest hip hop trends, what's going on there, music, and he can mellow down. Then, he can get on camera and do his thing when it came down to sports, and, he can play the hell out the ball. So, hey, that's him to a T. Did we have we had a relationship. I was cool with him, but not great, out of the, like we hung together or something like that, but it was decent.
Is there anybody in today's NBA, style-wise on the court, that reminds you of Jaylen at all?
Can't think of one. You would have to give me one, man. I can't think of lefty, slick, had a hell of a mid-range, could still shoot the 3 too, crafty. I don't know. Nobody comes to mind when you mention Jaylen. He's sort of his own type of deal. That's a good question.
Thank you. Yeah, because when I look at, it's easy for people, and sometimes I think it's lazy when people say, "Oh, he's like Grant Hill. He's like Jason Kidd. Oh, he's like Magic. He's like LeBron." To me, guys and it must be a Detroit thing, because I feel like guys like Jaylen and guys like Derek Coleman are one of a kind. But then when you make a Derek Coleman comparison, I've heard people say Anthony Davis, and it's more just presence on the court, not and that's the thing. It's not a clear-cut comparison.
Two different animals. Coleman was a beast, big boy, lefty, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yeah.
And very, very good around the basket, still could shoot mid-range. AD is more lanky, more versatile, and I think is more of a threat at the basket on the defensive end as well. Right? He's gonna get you more possessions when he really digs down and plays. And could pass and shoot and all that other stuff too. So I don't see a comparison. I understand they both probably play the same position, but I don't see it.
Well, the good thing is this, I said other people said it. I didn't say I said it, but I think that
I heard it. I just heard it. I just heard it, so I was just addressing it.
But you know what? When I look at Derek Coleman and I look at his game, to me, he is in more of the classes of the Chris Webbers and the Clarence Weatherspoons and the Charles Barkleys. And I think that
Clarence Weatherspoon. You got to take Charles. You got to take Charles and Chris and put them over here.
You do.
Yeah, I mean, you got to.
Okay. You being a Pacer, did you check out the Pacers this year, and what stood out to you? I'm sure Haliburton is the talk of the town in your eyes, but what do you like about the Pacers, and what do you like about their future?
I didn't watch a whole lot, to be quite honest. I watched a little bit of Haliburton, and I see how he has that Reggie Miller build, and that little flicked kind of shot that goes in. It's weird, but it goes in. Yeah, I mean, I think I was more mad at the fact that they got the guy from Toronto. They got what's his name? Pascal. I wanted Pascal to go to the Warriors.
Did you?
Oh boy, Steph. Steph is my favorite player.
Huh.
I wanted them to get Pascal, and then he went to the Pacers, which is good too, because that's my, NBA alma mater or whatnot. So he's doing well over there and just resigned. So I mean, I think they're going to be hell next year, just off of what they were able to do in the playoffs. I watched them against the Knicks as well, and the Knicks going to be crazy too. But yeah, I think they got a pretty solid core and a solid overall team.
What made you decide to come back to basketball? Because I thought it was weird because of the issues that you were having. Were you feeling better when you decided to return back to basketball?
When I decided to leave and we had a conversation with the doctors, I always knew I was going to try to make it happen again at some point. I was just too young at that point, and I'm so creative, man, and into solving problems that I knew I was going to try to figure something out myself. So, and then from the business side, I had a product. So, coming back to the NBA on your own merits and kind of solving a problem is also a marketing play to be able to use later on, which I still use today, right? It helps me. That story line helps me with my business, right? So coming back, it was easy. Donnie Walsh was always like, man, if you ever decide to come back, if you're able to, you make sure you call me first, right? And I was out for about 3 years, and I said, it's about that time if I'm going to do it. So let's try it. And, simple phone call, flew up, got in front of him and D'Antoni on the court, ran a couple, went through a short workout, and that was it.
Donnie Walsh is a basketball lifer.
Brooklyn. Yep, that's my man. That is my man.
What's he like? I've never met him.
Yeah, Donnie Walsh is the coolest. He almost gives you mob vibes. I always tell him, I said, man, you must be in a mob or something, bro. The way he carries himself, cigarette, chill, suit, laid back. He's that type of guy, never really breaking mode and losing his temper, and everything is just monotone. It's just even kill, gets the job done, get the business done. And he's always in the favor of the players and the players' best interests as well.
Yeah, you can tell that. You working out for Mike D'Antoni and ultimately playing for the Knicks. What do you remember? New York is home, and the Knicks are the hometown team. So, I mean, at that point, playing for the Knicks, what was it like? Because they weren't the Knicks.
Bro, I can remember just playing no defense. I can remember no defensive drill. I remember no defense. I was like, where's the defense? Like, we didn't practice any defense. There was no, that was weird to me. That, you know, I understand he's not a defensive guy, but we didn't do any real defense with that from that perspective. It was more of go out there, you know, pass, move, screen, move, shoot, you know, sort of that type of stuff. And D'Antoni was a weird type of guy, you know. I really didn't have a relationship with him, to tell you the truth. Um, it was, I don't know. I don't know how to kind of articulate the type of guy he was. Just interesting, put it like that. But I had fun in New York. Um, it was a different experience for me being, you know, coming from the South, then going to Indiana in the Midwest, and then now up in the North. Man, yeah, that was very different for me. But I appreciated it. I liked the time being there, and playing in the Garden. You know, that's a highlight for sure. Don't miss the Rats. You know, I thought that was a that's a real thing.
Where were you staying when you were in New York? You played for the Knicks.
I stayed out in Westchester.
Okay.
Yeah, I was out in Westchester. That's where the practice facility is as well.
Right. You were on a team, just kind of going back on that roster. You, Wilson Chandler, Eddie Curry, Tony Douglas, Chris Duhon, Danilo Gallinari. You reunited with Al Harrington with the Knicks. Tracy Brady, David Lee, Bill Walker. Finished 29-53 that year. You said you didn't watch the Pacers. Have you paid attention to the Knicks this season or this past?
I did. I was interested in the young fellow they got from Dallas. I'm interested in him, bro.
Jalen Brunson?
Brunson, man, that dude is an animal, bro. To be that little, now I wouldn't say super little. How tall is he? Like 6'2", maybe?
6'2", 6'3".
Bro, and you can't stop him. You can't stop him. He gets in the paint, floaters, he get any shot he wants. And for the most part, the way I look at him, I'm saying when he takes a shot, I feel it's going in every time. If they're down and they need a bucket, I feel that he's going to get it. That's how I feel watching him. I've seen him do it so much. He's tough-minded, hitting the tough free throws, everything. But outside of that, you got like the Villanova guys. All of those guys from college are back together at the Knicks, and then they just got the guy from New Jersey.
Cal Bridges.
Cal Bridges over, right? I think it's solid, man. It's solid. They're gonna be a dangerous team this coming year. They are already dangerous. They're gonna be super dangerous this coming year.
Do you think that the Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers should feel nervous about the Knicks?
Yes. For some reason, the Sixers can't get a break, right? It seems like something always goes wrong with the 76ers. I don't know what it is. Something always goes wrong over there. As far as the Celtics, you know, I think the difference with them is big boy, Porzingis, right? If he stays healthy the entire season, he's able to play, it's going to be if he plays like he did that first game when he came back in the playoffs, it's going to be trouble. But the Knicks, man, that go-to guy, they got it. And now they got Mikal Bridges, who can lock down defense and in some aspects, two-way player, and doesn't get tired, and he got a motor, right? So if I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I look at the 76ers. Okay, in crunch time, when it's down to the wire, who are you giving the ball to? Maybe Embiid, maybe the young fella, Paul George. I mean, maybe we'll see how that goes, right? But if I'm looking at the Knicks, you giving it to Lil Bronson. He's proven. He's proven to extend games. He's proven to close games out. They got a closer, is what I'm saying, right? If you look at the Celtics, you could toss a coin. We don't know. There may be some internal. When you got two guys that good, that's a problem. It can end up being a problem. I'm surprised that they won because one day Jaylen is doing his thing, and I know you got to go home and hear your homeboy say, "Hey man, who team is it, bro? Why they ain't giving you the ball, bro?" And even though you say that's not getting to you, it's still gonna spill onto the court in some aspect. So for that to not have happened, I think it's gonna happen at some point, right? I like the Knicks out of all three. Just to make things short here, I like the Knicks out of all three because of Bronson and his ability to close games. Some teams can get you there and get you to the fourth quarter and everything is there, but who's gonna close the game? It's a big difference.
It is a big difference. It's a big difference.
Bridges and then Hart is just a hard-nosed guy. And then the young guy that was over there at the Warriors that can shoot that three.
I'll take DiVincenzo.
I'll take DiVincenzo.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough.
Do you like Chris Paul deciding to sign with the San Antonio Spurs?
Yeah, I do. Because he seems like he would mesh well with Pop over there because he's got the general type mentality where he's gonna go out and here's the rules. This is how we're gonna do things. This is how we're gonna run things, and you guys follow me. That's how he is. He's the captain, and to be able to show the big fellow Wemby, some things and keep everything controlled around him. He's gonna make him better, I think. Even though Chris is on his way out, he's gonna have a big impact on Wemby, I feel.
Jonathan, tell me something. We talked a lot about this era. I want to kind of go back to your era. During your time playing in the NBA, was there a vet that you went against that it became your welcome to the NBA moment?
I don't know. Probably Kobe. Maybe one of those guys. Definitely Reggie, in practice. I think for me, because I was such a tall guy, they had me guarding these smaller guys. So I was always able to recover on my shot. So I was able to play some good defense and not really get cooked out there on the court. That's why nobody really stands out like that. Being that hybrid 7 foot, I'm out there, I'm fast, quick, and I can get up on these guys. It's like, if you drive past me, I'm coming to get it. So a shot blocker too. So it wasn't really, I really didn't have a standout moment like that outside of Reggie in practice. He did me in a couple of times for sure.
Who was the biggest shit talker in the NBA? And is there a story that you can share that you remember vividly?
Reggie talked a whole lot of stuff, man. Reggie did some talking. That's a tough one. It's a lot of talking in practice, not too much on the court. Not anything that stands out. Sorry, man.
No, that's an honest answer. Plus, you're not supposed to snitch. You're not supposed to give all the tea to everybody. But at the same time, it's always worth asking because people are interested in that kind of banter and conversation.
Yeah, for sure. No, I don't have one. I can't think of one right off top anyway.
Larry Bird was your coach your first year, correct?
When I came in, it was Zeke.
The transition was that summer before, and then Isaiah came in. Is that how it went?
Larry was more of basketball operations.
Okay.
I'm thinking in my first year. Yeah, I think it was Zeke. I think it had to be Zeke during that time. Because I remember I was in summer league and he had me running point guard during the summer. Yeah, I think it went something like that. I forget exactly how they move things around because Bird they actually brought in Zeke and Bird um, went to
Top.
basketball, whatever.
Oh, that's fair.
Something like that.
Were there I guess players that or teams that you went against that you were excited to go against? Like, did you have any peers that were from around your area or that you knew going in that you enjoyed playing against them?
No, not that I can think of. I just wanted to go out and do my thing in each game that I was put in. Right. I was fresh out of high school. I didn't know many guys outside of high school. Um, you know, coming from a small town. So, no, I never had a team that was just like, okay, I'm super hyped. I want to go in and do my thing. I always wanted to go out and have a good showing. That's just my mindset, right? So that answers your question.
It does. A couple more questions because I know you got to run and I got to run. Post basketball. Did you ever have aspirations of actually getting into coaching?
No, I'm just not that guy. Not for coaching. Not for coaching. Nah, never crossed my mind.
If you could pick something to do that you have to be connected in basketball, whether that's being an agent, whether that's being in the front office, whether that's does anything around the game fascinate you in a certain role, or do you really just enjoy the point that you're at?
Man, I like I sort of like I like what the GMs do. You know, I can see that. I can see agent. You know, I like that look, but I never kind of dug into it. But if I had to look at anything, it would probably be around those positions.
Okay. You answered all my questions, sir.
Yeah.
You're a wealth of knowledge, and I'm glad to see you're still connected to the game and that you're still knowledgeable. But you got to watch some more Pacers games this coming season.
I gotta watch more, man. I gotta watch more, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I will. They're getting better. I'm gonna have to keep my eyes on them a little bit more.
Okay. Well, you're off the hot seat.
All right. Wasn't that hot, man? But I get it.
I appreciate you, brother.
No doubt. Always.